Coming up on TekThing, the Eclipse is almost here. Did Alcomsoft crack your password manager? G-Sync Gaming on Alienware's latest monitor. And hey, you can download Google Maps. It's all coming up on TekThing. Thank you, patrons. Without your support via patreon.com/TekThing, we wouldn't be able to make the show for you each and every week. Join the crew that makes TekThing possible at patreon.com/TekThing.
I'm Shannon Morse.
And I'm Patrick Norton.
And this is TekThing, where we have something useful in every single show.
Oh my goodness. If you don't like Eclipse, this may not be your favorite show.
I'm so excited about this episode.
We're both excited.
Yeah, I'm super stoked. This weekend, I think both of us are driving up to, or flying up to Portland. I'm flying.
We're driving.
Nice. And I am staying in an Airbnb, and me and my friends are going to be traveling like 2 hours away from Portland to go see the eclipse in its totality.
We're going to a campsite in the middle of Oregon.
Cool.
So if you're near Mitchell and you think you see me, you might have seen me.
So I wanted to bring up the eclipse again. I know we've talked about it several times, but this time because I made my own camera filter for solar photography, which ended up costing me $30 when I ordered the components. So keep in mind, all of the prices now are pretty much outrageous.
Though you might get lucky. You know what? There's about 18 different ways to skin this cat and still see the eclipse.
There are.
So we'll talk about those a little later.
So you should be fine. You should be fine no matter what you do. But I ended up purchasing this thing called the SIOTI modular filter holder off of Amazon, and you can see that here. Right now it's about $30, and yeah, that's about what I bought it for. And then we also got some filter sheets. So this is the one currently unavailable that Patrick recommended that I purchase. So I got one of those. They're
supposed to get a bunch of different sizes in between the 17th and the 19th. So if you're in a last minute kind of mood, check Amazon and don't expect it to show up in time for delivery on Monday. Just saying.
And then you just tack on a little bit of cardboard and you use some tape, and then you got yourself a fancy little
You've created a filter.
I created a filter. So this is used for square filters. You stick this on the front of your camera, and then you just slide the filter in, and you leave openings in the cardboard on both sides, and then you're able to see through the filter like that. Currently I have the cardboard on the back of it just so that it's safe and it doesn't get damaged while I travel up to Portland. But basically what happens is my friend's dad, he works at an observatory, so they hooked me up with this thin astronomy material for solar photography that makes the sun appear white, like you see in this test picture that I did. And I know I should turn down the ISO. The ISO was up at like 2,000. I know, don't worry. I was just doing some test footage while the sun was setting outside. But this one takes white pictures of the sun instead of having it be blue, green, or yellow. And I thought that would be really cool because it's a little bit different than what we normally get.
If you have the film, if you get it last minute delivery, it's going to look a lot like this. Like Shannon mentioned, the stuff from Thousand Oaks will make it look yellow. Welding glass will make it look green. I prefer the yellow to the green, but you know what? They're all better than blowing your eyeballs out.
Right.
The big thing about handling the film is avoiding any kind of wrinkles or creases.
Yes. So luckily, if you do have wrinkles or creases in the film, that's okay, especially according to this little Astro Solar guideline here, as long as those don't have any holes. So if you have any holes in your solar filter material, that could let sunlight in, and that could damage your camera.
Right.
Since mine is not a tube filter, instead of having light filter in through the sides, what I'm going to end up doing is putting some black foam around the edges of my lens just to block out any kind of additional light. And pretty much I'm just going to buy that from like Target or Michael's and do a little quick mod on my camera before I head up to Portland this weekend. So my camera lens is this one that I'm using. It's a 240. It's 24 to 240 f3.5 to 6.3. So it zooms pretty far, which is good. It's a decent since the camera maxes out at 42 megapixels, so I will be able to zoom in on the original RAW photo. But the original RAW at 42 megapixels
is huge.
Even at 240 millimeters, it's a huge picture, but the sun is very small in the middle of it. So having that zoom and then being able to crop the image in edit is going to be really helpful for me.
If you take a picture with your cell phone without some kind of telescopic magnification, you're going to end up with little tiny spots and you know, maybe a little tiny smudge of gray, especially if you're not using a tripod. If you don't have a holder for your cell phone, you're probably not going to be able to hold it steady enough. So I came together with a rig that I did a Patreon Well, you know, man, this is interesting. I talk about it more, you know, in a Patreon note, but basically, the Goski holder holds my cell phone is on a Goski holder on the lens on the telescope, right? Thing is, my telescope has an effective length, this little tiny telescope has an effective length of 300 millimeters. But it doesn't have a 42 megapixel center. Well, 300 so let me wind this back. 300 millimeters is huge for like everyday photography, right?
It's better than my camera.
Here's the thing though, the sun is very, very big, but it's very, very far away. Mr. Eclipse has a great chart. There's a few of these online at different places. This is looking at 35 millimeter film at a 200 millimeter focal length. That's what your solar image, your sun picture is going to look like. They recommend you have somewhere between 500 and all of the millimeters. That's a 2,000 millimeter down in the lower right-hand corner. It's a 2,000 millimeter scope or lens. That makes
complete sense.
1,000 millimeters, 500 millimeters. About 500 millimeters, you really start to get a big image.
Yes.
I also want to point out that when you take an image with a telescope on your cell phone through one of the gadgets that aims basically you use this to aim your cell phone at the lens, and then you focus on it, you end up with a circular image in the middle of a big back screen because you're taking a picture of the lens element and everything around it. You're also going to need manual focus, which you can't really do in the photo app. I use VSCO. Which is a cool little application.
Yeah,
if you want to play around with advanced photography on a cell phone, VSCO is a really cool app.
I just use my camera and edit in Lightroom, which is more expensive that way, but of course, you know, it's another option. I also wanted to point out this cute little thing right here. I know it's ridiculous, but I also made this little mini filter that I can tape onto the front of my smartphone if I want to, or offer to a friend, because I know I'm going to have friends who are like trying to record it with their iPhones holding up with no zoom lens, of course.
Don't point your camera at the sun.
Yes, so important. So for any filter that you plan to use, stick it on the front of your camera. This seems totally logical, but hey, for example, you would not put sunglasses on the back of your head when it's bright out. Treat your camera the same way. You want to protect it from the front. The only time you can take off that filter is during totality, when the sun is completely covered up by the moon, and then the moment that it starts shining again, you want to make sure that that filter is back on immediately, because it could damage your lens just like it can damage your eyeballs. And
you only reach totality if you're in that strip of the eclipse path across the United States.
That's right.
So we both ended up with lenses from...
Thank you, Patrick, by the way, for these.
American Paper Optics. They are getting a little pricey on Amazon at this point, but they are certified. There's a short list of trusted vendors, and there's a lot of scumbags that are selling things that aren't exactly eclipse glasses at this late moment.
So we should probably tell them that if they didn't do their shopping early, you're probably going to have to pay a lot of money.
No.
No.
Well, if you want to buy,
I guess they could mod it like I did.
Here's the thing: if you're trying to buy like the last pair of eclipse glasses on Amazon, like Friday.
I saw a pack of 3 going for $249.
I saw a pack of 10 going for $70, but you also want to make sure that it's from being like fulfilled by Amazon from a trusted member.
Yes.
Or trusted member. You know, we've mentioned Thousand Oaks Optical. You know, this is this is like, oh, it's $39.99 Prime, and well, it's actually
in stock August 20th.
Yeah, well, just a couple hours ago, they had some that were in stock on the 17th, so apparently they're selling them out fast. Yeah. But you might want to, if it's Friday, you might want to check for like overnight delivery or Saturday delivery from Thousand Oaks Optical or one of the other recommended vendors. You can go to your local welding shop. A lot of people are like, they have welding glasses at Home Depot. I walk by them on the way to the whatever section. Here's the thing. You need shade 14 welding lens.
Yes.
This is not going to be on the goggles in the welding section of the big box store. This is like a number 5 or a number 6, and I can actually see the lights in the studio through it. This will not protect your eyes. The number 14 stuff, is actually going to protect your eyes.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. You do not want to damage your eyes by staring directly into the sun. Space.com says solar viewing glasses are not a substitute for a proper solar filter on magnification devices. Never view the disk of the sun through a telescope, binoculars, or camera without a proper solar filter.
That's right.
I.e., don't magnify the light through your big fancy lens and then be
burn your lens.
Yeah, or burn your eyes because these will not deal with the magnified light coming through the lens.
Yeah.
There are a ton of last-minute options. We will have links to all of these in the show notes. You can turn a cereal box into an Eclipse viewer.
Nice.
If you have aluminum foil and tape, you are good to go. There's a really cool one on Popular Mechanics about using a couple of Pringles cans to do a DIY pinhole sun viewer.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a very good website, eclipse.aas.org, that talks about pinhole protection, and it's really awesome. If you have a telescope or binoculars, you can protect them, project the image onto a paper sheet to get a magnified image of the sun.
Oh, that's cool.
If you have a hole in a sheet of paper or a pair of hands,
for example, one of these. I can't show you the other side because it's an NDA, but I can show you this side, which is a pinhole.
Pretend the sun is over there, the pinhole is here, and you can put the paper here.
Wherever it's reflecting.
Yeah, the white paper here to capture the image, then people can look on this. There are lots of, it's not very bright.
I know, it's not. It doesn't work so well in here.
Especially because we've got like 32 light sources.
But it will work for the Eclipse.
All of those will work to get you Eclipse viewing without spending the mortgage money on glasses.
And last off, is that a, that's a welding glass.
Yeah, heat-treated weld-marked glass filter lens, shade 14.
Yeah.
If it doesn't say shade 14,
probably don't want to get it. So last off, a couple of websites you will probably want to check out. Eclipse2017.org, that's where you can find tons of information, and MrEclipse.com, which we have mentioned on the show before. Both of those are excellent places to find tons of information, and if you're still looking for glasses and things like that, or if you're looking for information on how to take photography, which I'm definitely going to be reviewing once more before I go up there, those are excellent, excellent places to find that information. Yeah,
and practice before the Eclipse.
Oh yeah, yep.
I'm torn. We'll have like a little over 2 minutes of totality.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to give myself like 30 seconds to take photographs, and then I'm just going to stare.
I'm pretty sure that's what I'm going to do too. Is just get my camera ready, take a few photos, and then just enjoy it. Because I'm not going to get to see that again for a very long time.
I'm also going to be trying to make sure the kids don't take the glasses off.
Yes, that's true.
Oh my goodness.
So moving on, you probably saw it for a second on our little computer screen, but what's going on? Oh boy, so like a year into the AMD Vega wait, benchmarks are finally available. AMD Radeon Vega 64 cards are up for sale. You're looking at Newegg.com's listing of AMD Radeon 64 GPUs, and they look to be completely out of stock this week, which is probably not good if you want to see NVIDIA drop their prices. You are probably wondering, is this the newest, fastest GPU ever? Yes! It's not. Oh. That's okay. NVIDIA's GTX 1080 Ti GPU still holds the lead. You're looking at 25 to 30% faster than a GTX 1080. Oh. Not that you can find one of those for sale. The AMD Vega 56 is actually now the fastest card at $399. Wow. The GTX 1070 now takes second place, so I now have a second place GPU in my desktop system. Yeah, basically the RX Vega 64 delivers NVIDIA GTX 1080 performance. It just consumes way more power, and it's a bit louder. No surprise there. No surprise there. A lot of people are like, oh, NVIDIA's going to drop prices. Yeah. They're not. Not for a while. I would not expect any major price drops from NVIDIA. One, Bitcoin mining's gone nuts again. I think the Bitcoin's up above $4,200, so demand for GPUs for mining is going to keep GPU demand steady. And two, we don't really know how well AMD is delivering product, i.e. can they fill the channel and keep selling more cards? Ryan, I mean, like, this is not our dog. Nope. He's just, I'm babysitting him. And he just wants love. He just wants lots and lots of love. So he's in the studio today. This is Pluto. This is Pluto. I'll put him down now. Pluto is still being potty trained. Yes, he is. Oh my goodness. Ain't that the truth. Talking about GPUs, Ryan at PC Per expects, quote, custom air-cooled cards from the likes of Asus, MSI, and others that are going to bring clock speeds at or near the level of the RX Vega 64 liquid-cooled cards, and I suspect those are going to come for a lot less. Ooh, so, that'll be fun. Big competition at 1070 levels, equal competition at 1080 levels, as long as you're not particularly critical on the amount of power your card consumes.
And the 1080 Ti is still the fastest card you can buy.
Patrick, when should I build a new computer?
Soon.
Yes. Speaking of gaming and GPUs, Alienware sent us their new 25-inch 1080p G-Sync monitor, aka the AW2518H monitor with NVIDIA G-Sync technology, which we are going to do a full review of on a TekThing short. Ain't that right, Pluto? So today we are talking all about NVIDIA G-Sync. So if you're interested in this monitor, you can find it over on Dell's website. It's the new Alienware. And for some reason, my images are not showing up, go figure. So basically, G-Sync came about a few years ago as NVIDIA's fix for screen tearing during intensive video games, which definitely is a thing.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, there's G-Sync is NVIDIA's version, FreeSync is AMD's version.
Yes.
They're both trying to solve the problems of V-Sync.
Yeah, so back then, the issue was solved with V-Sync technology. So this would basically fix the tearing, but it would also drop your frame rate, it would cause lags, it would create stutter, or it would cause double frames, and none of that is a no-go whenever you're playing games like FPSs and Counter-Strike and you really don't want to get a headshot.
Well, double frames can be great because the screen doesn't tear, but then you don't know, your mouse may not, your movement on the screen may not actually reflect what your mouse is doing.
So NVIDIA's G-Sync fixed that by matching the output of your GPU to the frame rate of the monitor so that they stay in sync, hence kind of works with the name quite well. So G-Sync uses adaptive refresh rates to constantly keep your GPU and your monitor set to that same rate. So if your monitor has a higher refresh rate, like 144 hertz, for example, you would keep that buttery smooth feel even if your GPU is clocking lower rates because they will stay in sync with each other. Hopefully that made sense.
Well, it basically comes down to if tearing in video games drives you nuts, and you have a G-Sync capable GPU with a DisplayPort output, you can buy a G-Sync monitor to go with your NVIDIA G-Sync capable card, and you will eliminate.
He's chewing on the studio. He's chewing on the studio.
And you will eliminate refresh rate issues. The same thing basically happens with FreeSync now. It was a little dodgy. In the early days when G-Sync and FreeSync, FreeSync had more issues. G-Sync was about $100 and still is about $100 more expensive because they actually have a physical hardware monitor inside each G-Sync monitor that is tuned to basically make that monitor do its best.
So obviously it'll be a little bit more expensive.
Yeah, and the FreeSync side of things, they did most of that sort of updates with updates to the drivers.
Yeah.
In any case, you need DisplayPort output on your GPU and a fast enough GPU or a new enough GPU.
Yep. So to set it up, and we'll walk you through the process if you've never done it before, in Windows, all you have to do is right-click on your desktop and then open the NVIDIA control panel, go down to Display, and set up G-Sync. And from there, you can choose to have G-Sync only work for games in full screen mode or with games also in windowed mode as well. So if you prefer not to play in full screen for some strange reason, I prefer full screen myself, you can always set it up so that G-Sync works with those as well. And lastly, if you have multiple monitors, use the on-screen guide to set up G-Sync monitor as your primary display for those video games so that you always get that G-Sync capability whenever you're using your video games instead of those two other ones, assuming that you have like a trio of monitors.
All the monitors.
Now, if you are worried about whether or not G-Sync is actually running on your display, there's a way that you can tell, which is awesome. You can choose Display from the little toolbar at the top, choose G-Sync indicator, and a little overlay is going to appear in your games whenever it's on and running. Now, of course, you might not like that, because it's an overlay in your game.
Well, it's kind of nice to know it's there, but it's also, I mean, I was just irritated because all of the G-Sync stuff is set up as down here, but then you go up to the top and wait for the toolbar to come down.
Why is it in a separate place? That's so weird.
It's irritating.
Lastly, do not forget to customize settings in-game if you want to. You can check that your game and your monitor are set to the same refresh rate, so like 144 hertz monitor should be reflected in the game settings as well. So if your game allows you to set it at 144 hertz, why not do that? Generally, you should be able to choose the max refresh rate for your monitor if you have G-Sync enabled, and make sure that you disable FPS limiting and V-Sync features if those are included in your video game, because those will mess up the whole G-Sync capability. And then finally, if you notice any kind of latency issues, which you may, it's always possible, you can go to your NVIDIA control panel, go to 3D settings and manage 3D settings, and then choose program settings, settings, select your game, and choose vertical sync and make sure to turn that off.
In the 3D settings.
In 3D settings. But this may also incur some screen tearing if you turn that off, which kind of voids the whole point of G-Sync. You may be wondering why there's a vertical like V-Sync capability in the NVIDIA settings. That is a thing that G-Sync uses to make V-Sync work with it. Leave it on, generally it's going to work just fine. Just trust me.
Yeah.
Okay. So there are some supported GPUs as well, and NVIDIA has a whole list of those available. My old one does work with G-Sync, however, I don't have a monitor that supports G-Sync myself, so I should probably upgrade my monitor, but I really like my ultra-wide, so I don't think I will. And I don't game that much like I used to, so I might just stick with it. And they also have a really nice video available on their website that shows the differences between when you have G-Sync on and then what it looks like when you have it off. You'll end up with things like screen tearing or glitchy frame rates or things like that nature. And you can kind of see it whenever this clock is moving compared to the smoother textures of G-Sync on. Of course, I don't have G-Sync on this machine either, so you will notice a little bit of buffering, and this is streaming as well. Keep that in mind when you're watching this video.
It was interesting when I was using this, like, right, because I've got a AMD Radeon 1800X, or an AMD Ryzen 1800X processor and a GTX 1070, which I picked up to test a 4K monitor. When there's an actual demo you can run on your machine of that pendulum, and I could not actually see tearing on the pendulum. But I also noticed with a lot of video games I was running with G-Sync on or G-Sync off, if they weren't particularly taxing on the CPU or the GPU, they would run at 240 frames per second, which meant that I could run them on that monitor at basically its maximum refresh rate of 240 frames per second.
So I guess the big question is, do you need NVIDIA G-Sync? I would say not necessarily. If you are an avid gamer, it definitely does help. I have experienced tearing on my older PC at home, which is not, what is yours, a 10?
34. Well, the monitor we tested is the.
No, your GPU. What is it?
Oh, 1070.
1070. I don't have a 1070. I have like a 760 or something like that. It's pretty old. It does have G-Sync, but the monitor doesn't. And because it's a slower computer, I do experience a little bit of tearing. I also don't have that G-Sync monitor, like we mentioned before. I have a Dell Ultrawide, and that does not include G-Sync, the G-Sync chipset. So you do see a huge improvement whenever you use G-Sync. So if you are a gamer, I would say go for it, but if you don't game that much, I don't really see a point in getting G-Sync.
Paying a whole bunch of extra money to have a superior gaming monitor?
A superior one?
A superior gaming monitor doesn't entirely make a lot of sense to us.
Yeah, if you're not a big gamer, spend that money elsewhere to upgrade your PC. That's what I would say. By
the way, if you have an AMD FreeSync ready monitor, they are a lot more affordable. I mean, the Alienware 25 gaming monitor, 2518HF, is $389 with AMC FreeSync technology, and the Alienware 25 gaming monitor AW28118H with NVIDIA G-Sync technology is $600.
Ooh, so that's a big change there.
Yeah.
Maybe I should go AMD.
Maybe. Got a question? Curious to see us review something on the show? Got a tip or an idea you want to share with the TekThing crew? Please fire them out to ask@tekthing.com, or you can tweet @TekThing, @Snubs, or @Patrick Norton. And hey, if you want to be part of the crew that makes TekThing possible, please contribute to the show at patreon.com/TekThing. Just $1 will make a difference, and you'll get access to our patron-only build videos and more. Thank you for your patronage. You make TekThing possible. So typically I run Navigon for offline navigation on my phone because I often find myself traveling places where cell phone navigation doesn't work because there's no cell service.
Yeah, you do.
Oh my goodness. And well, the truth is, right, if you're in San Francisco, you can drive 15-20 minutes north and be in Marin County and not have cell reception.
That's a good point.
So, you know, and then when you get into like the hinterlands of Oregon where I'm going, cell reception can be a really, really big deal. So if you don't want to spend a bunch of money for an offline navigation app like Navigate or the ones that are available from Garmin, you can download Google Maps to use offline. So you open up to Google Maps, you're in Google Maps, and you search for a place, for example, Idaho. And I'm going to zoom in on Idaho. And here's the thing, you can't download an entire state, but what you can do is you're going to go highlight it, and you are going to the download button right here, and then you get a box. There we go. and you can get that much of the area you're looking for in one go. For example,
that's quite a big area, though.
It's quite a big area. You can, you know, it looks smaller when you put it into the context.
That's a big area.
It's a big area, and you can download it. Downloads may take up to 1,725 megabytes. I have 41,399 megabytes available, so I should be in good shape. And what I did for me is I started with the area in Oregon, and then I scrolled down and I connected the area inside of California.
Nice. So you can do multiple areas as long as your phone has enough space.
It appears to be that way because I think I've done it. For example, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to turn off the Wi-Fi. So if you look down here in the corner, I think it used to be Lightning, but now there's a no cloud offline,
cool.
No traffic data because of obviously you're offline. But I actually did that inside of there to search for that. So I could also look for, let's say, Wairika. In any case, you get the idea that you can actually access information on your Google Maps application without having access to the internet.
Are there any stipulations?
You got to do it while you're connected to Wi-Fi, I would suggest.
Right.
Because if you have to download a gigabyte of data, you don't want to be doing that on your cell phone plan. Not that I think it will actually let you do that on your cell phone plan.
There are also, and I do want to mention, there are also some places that Google Maps does not have offline maps. Like last year when I went to Japan, they didn't have offline maps available. But I had Google Fi, and Google Fi is pretty cheap overseas, so it worked just fine for me over there.
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, I, of course, there's no way to like do an entire state, which is really frustrating.
Reminds me of our road trips in the 90s.
Yeah,
with my mom and dad.
And I still travel with paper maps just in case.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah, and I'll probably have the Garmin GPS unit in there too in case my phone is trashed. Because we tend to, like when we're coming back, they expect millions of people there, so we're probably just going to try to figure out the smallest 2-lane roads we can get to get back home.
That's a good idea. Well, if my flight gets canceled, I'll call you. Okay. I should also mention as well, you can only get those for 30 days and you have to re-update them after that time because the offline maps will not keep after that point in time. So keep that in mind, everybody.
I wish there was a way to do an entire state with one download.
That would be nice.
Yeah, they have no interest in that as far as I can tell. And yes, as a matter of fact, I will be traveling with a paper atlas and my Garmin GPS up in the window.
So great.
Oh my goodness. Well, you know, you find yourself in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like if you go outside your Google Maps box, you're not going to be able to access the data if there's no phone protection there. Something that's phone protection, phone coverage there.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm still back on the whole phone virus thing from a couple weeks ago. There's a lot of learning there. If you are traveling to the Western United States and you are not used to traveling in the Western United States, I highly recommend you check fire maps before you drive out into the big forest out west. This is really cool. This is the Oregonian's real-time fire map. Shows the entire U.S. And you know, you'll notice something. Not a lot of forest fires over here. But when you get to the American West, especially because we've had bark beetles issues that have killed a lot of the trees, there are a lot of fires going on in different parts of the West. If you go over to Oregonian.gov/ODF, the Oregon Department of Forestry, they have an interactive fire map, and you'll notice there's a lot going on. All in this stretch down here. And if you go to Cal Fire, you'll notice that the entire state of California appears to be on fire until you zoom in. And I highly suggest you zoom in so you don't have a panic attack like I did.
Yeah.
I was looking at this the other day. But forest fires are kind of a thing here, and they shut down roads. You know, there's one for Idaho, IdahoFireInfo.com.
So you get the idea.
Yeah,
There's plenty of them.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Always check before
Important
you go.
information, especially if you are traveling to those areas and renting a car. You want to make sure that you are not driving into a fire.
We got a tweet from @ByShen or ByShen, who tweeted out a link to April C. Wright, who was actually talking about 1Password to rule them all, breaking into 1Password, KeePass, LastPass, and Dashlane, Elcomsoft security blog.
Very cool. Hi, April, by the way.
Hi, April. I don't think you know me, though. So Elcomsoft makes password cracking software, amongst other things.
Okay.
And this is their August the 10th post, where they're basically like, we've just updated Elcomsoft distributed password recovery with the ability to break master passwords, protecting encrypted vaults of the 4 popular password keepers: 1Password, KeePass, LastPass, and Dashlane.
Whoa!
Yeah!
That sounds scary.
Because, hey, quote, obviously the master password is compromised and all other passwords stored in the vault are compromised as well.
Yeah, that's Go figure.
Go figure. So are you panicking? You're panicking. I'm panicking. I saw that title.
Well, I have two-factor authentication on my account, so I'm not panicking yet.
Yeah, and this is a good thing to not be panicking about. Back in 2012, Alcomsoft Password Manager research found that, quote, very few of the products were significantly more secure compared to storing passwords in a plain text file. They go on to say in 2017, we have a different picture with quite a few secure options available. This includes 1Password, KeePass, LastPass, and Dashlane.
Okay.
So you're probably thinking, how secure are they? Because you look at this blog entry, and it sounds all, weekend has cracked your password manager, doom, 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 doom. But if you start doing math, or you go to the press release about this from Alcomsoft, you will see something that's a little different, sort of a not so much, unless you use really short passwords.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. They basically say in here, your password manager's, quote, vault can only be decrypted by brute forcing of the original plain text master password. So password managers use several thousand iterations to derive the binary encryption key from the text-based master password. As a result, the speed of Bruce Force attacks, Bruce Force, Robert the Bruce.
Bruce Wayne Force.
Oh my goodness.
Batman encryption.
That's really tough stuff. Quote, this is exactly the reason for employing GPU units available in today's AMD and NVIDIA video cards to accelerate the recovery 500 to 200 times. Excuse me, 50 to 200 times compared to a CPU alone. Even then, the brute force speed is in the range of 100,000 passwords a second, which would only allow brute forcing reasonably short passwords. So I like what one poster said on the blog article. Using Dashlane and a master password of 8 characters, your cracking station would still need about 1,650 years. As anybody sane would use a longer password as a master password, the title of this post is misleading.
Ooh, ouch.
You are still vulnerable to dictionary attacks for longer passwords, i.e. running the Bible against a Bible scholar's password manager or using your children's names or stupid stuff like that, making horrible password choices. Passwords. Yeah. But remember, even before they can attack your short password because you're insane and your master password for your password manager is in short, don't do that. The attacker still needs physical access to your laptop or your desktop or your phone.
Really?
Then they need to crack the password on that phone or pull the hard drive out of your laptop or your desktop, or they need to hack into your Dropbox or iCloud account for a 1Password user that stores it there. Yeah, and as Shannon mentioned earlier, you need to not be using two-factor authentication, which would A, lock them out, assuming they didn't kidnap you and your phone when they stole your laptop, which is a possibility in parts of the world, or B, warn you that somebody's trying to break into your account and you should change your password again.
Right.
So, good, long, 12, 14, 30, 3,000 character passwords for your password manager. Be smart about them. Don't share it. Change it if your device is stolen, and use two-factor authentication.
Use that two-factor authentication. Yeah, my LastPass, I use LastPass. Everybody can know that. That's fine. I use a very long password on LastPass, and I use two-factor authentication, and nobody can guess it because I barely know my password. So I feel like it's safe and it's good because it's not reused anywhere else. So as long as you're using proper etiquette with your security and privacy online, you should be fine. So don't worry too much about that blog post.
I still find password, because of the number of passwords I have to manage and because I have to share passwords with a bunch of different people, seem to make my life easier.
So much easier.
The really scary part is the idea that one of the password manager sort of central database is being hacked into, but let's not think about that right now.
Yeah. Well, I think it's about time to think about doing something analog. So remember, once in a while, put down your phone, step away from the screen, close your laptop, and do something analog. Like Barry, who writes, "Hi guys, first, keep up the great work on the show.
Thanks.
It's my favorite tech podcast. Second, for an analog activity, I put up a hammock on a deck at my cabin on Gabriola Island in British Columbia. What I discovered after painfully hand cranking the anchors into the studs because I didn't have a proper drill bit was that it's a really good idea to measure the hammock's length before you decide at which height to put the anchors. Back at this tomorrow. Cheers, Barry from Vancouver."
Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's great. Barry, good luck. Send us a picture of the completed hammock construction. I would love to see it once it's all set up.
Oh my goodness. I forgot how much fun hammocks are.
Oh, they're so great.
We picked up a couple for our last camping trip. It's amazing what you can find for $19 at Costco.
19 bucks.
19
and
bucks.
Also, if you have analog pics, make sure to send them to us. Ask at TekThing.com, or you can tweet them to us at Snubs, not at Shannon, at Snubs and at Patrick Norton.
And hey, we'll see you up next week or in Oregon if
Yay!
you're traveling in Oregon.
So excited!
If you think you see us, say hello, except during the eclipse. We'll be really busy right about that.
It's true.
Oh my goodness. I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Shannon Morse.
We'll see you next week on TekThing.
Yeah, I guess I will be in a new city. Maybe I should do a meetup on like Sunday night or something.
Have you never been to Portland before?
I've never been to Portland, ever.
You're gonna like, you know, it's good that the property values have gone up in Portland, otherwise you'd be like, you'd quit.
Well, I don't know. I hear it's not as sunny in Portland.
Well, they have a lot of gray there. It's not as...
Yeah, I love the sun so much.
I
love the sun so much. I don't know if I could deal with that. Do they have grits?
Powell's Book, yeah, they got grits. Some of the best pastrami I've ever had is
grits ain't
Portland.
pastrami.
No.
Nope.
But you know, if you can boil corn, you can make grits. Grits.
That's true.
I mean, you can make
really
bad
easy.
grits.
But I like going to a restaurant and having like fancy grits sometimes.
Fancy grits?
Yeah,
like
that have like
with
3
cheese?
cheeses and like tomatoes or
I'm about to make
fancy
a
spices.
really bad Velveeta joke around that. And I like grits. Oh my goodness.